Hey everybody! We're going to be doing some sanding today. Also working on my Japanese a little bit. I think that can be compressed, but I don't know. But we're working on the Red Dolphin. As you see, I have loaded with decals on this thing, and I have a new cutting board. This cutting board is only for this cutting board is for my cutting, decal work. No paint work will be done with this board. Just because I have a shitty cutting board right now, and I want there to be a difference. And also, I'll be starting a Patreon soon. I hope you guys can join and help this channel out. But let's get started with the sanding process. I've already done one of my arms. Also, I don't use those alligator clips. I use just some masking tape, painter's tape, and these bamboo sticks, which these are like skewers for cooking and stuff like that. So that you can get a box of 100 of them for like $2. So that and some tape, it's cheap. I want to get the alligator clips, but it just seems like a waste of material to use those clips, and I feel like the stick it's probably the same kind of stick. So but just some sanding. I did the preliminary sand on this one already, and then what we're going to have to do after I get this done is go ahead and reprime it. Might be getting low on that, but reprime it. Then I'll be giving it its pearl green color. TS60 from Tamiya. Gotta say, first time using this color and putting a white coat down, it looks really good. You can see a little bit of paint running, stuff like that, but it goes great with this copper and this undersea kind of look that I'm going with. So yeah, not bad for the price I paid for it. So keep that over with my cans. Still working on Armoro. Putting a lot of detail into him, under his hand. I still gotta paint the cuff up here, but this is what I have so far. We got a lot of detail work to do. I'll probably save this for the live on Sunday. But yeah, I gotta clip his gun off too. He has a gun right here. Still gotta paint that. And then he still gotta paint the inside of his helmet and put that red red stripe down on him. But yep, and then I still haven't painted. She has a helmet that comes with her. I think a yellow helmet. But yeah, she turned out really good. Being the first figure I did, and then Char was my second. Not bad. I enjoy it. I try to position them on the base so that it's kind of equaled out. But, 6 more to do of those, so got a lot of kits to work on over here till I can say that I'm actually can buy more. Yeah, I guess that's my one big weakness right now, is not being able to buy them, but not to buy the kits that I want. But what we'll do is I'll show you in this video my sanding process, my attachment process, at least try to show you the attachment process, but for sure the sanding. So this is, what I do is with this kit, it's a glue together Gundam kit. And what can I say about it is you glue it all together, make sure you follow the instructions. You see that it's still a little loose or whatever, not really, it's got a gap there or whatever, but I think by the time I put the shoulder attachment on, and that's the other thing too with these kits, you got to be a little bit more careful, because this shoulder attachment has to be glued on. So what I have to do first is I have to glue it, sand it, then you can see that gap forming again. So what we're going to do is this is my go-to for paint, for gluing anything now, is this Tamiya Extra Thin. It's, I gotta say, quick drying, amazing, fast. Try not to paint when you are using it, because it will take off the paint. But it's really nice that it's quick drying, and it kind of gives you a good feel on it. Alright, so I'm going to let this one sit and dry, so that, let's see, I'm going to have to squish it down a little bit, so anytime I have to do that, I get my masking tape out, this is to me a 10mm. Give it a nice good taunt. Get down, put it back in my stand. And then another thing too, I just recently saw New Type Tim. Hey, what's going on, man? He bought a whole bunch of these. I think like 2 or 3 he got of these holders right here. Now you notice all it is particle board. Cardboard, basically, and you don't really need to go out and buy those. You get shipments in, you get excuse me, I'm not getting a cold, I promise. I don't have allergies, I promise. But yeah, there's no reason to buy these. You get shipments in, you get your stuff in and stuff like that, like through the mail. You just cut those up, make them into a nice, maybe 2-inch little strips, set them side to side, duct tape, bam, you got one. Do it on the cheap. There's no reason to spend a whole lot of money if you don't have to. That's my philosophy. If you don't have to spend the money, don't. Like a lot of people, like I personally, okay, I haven't done an RG kit yet. Reason for my not doing an RG kit is because I don't see the appeal in it. It's more for those people who want to be purists on making their Gundam kits. I'm one of those. I want to custom everything. For my Char Zaku right here, as you see, I've already drawn out the lines and stuff like that. I'm basing this off the RG model, and I am scribing into the plastic itself right here. By the way, thanks to the guys over at Galactic Toys, shout out to them. They were doing grab boxes, and he came in it, and I have never. This is my second Zaku that I've put together. Very behind, I am. So, Char Zaku, yeah. doing a whole custom work on it too. And then I'm going to be doing something like that, but I'm going to be doing it as a paint job and panel lining for my Zabe. But back to this. So what we're going to start off with is this 120 grit or 100 grit sandpaper stick. The sticks work good. Don't necessarily always go with those. I like, someone got me into these sponge, this came with that from Galactic Toys, these sponge sandpaper. They're okay. My suggestion to a lot of people is my boards here, this whole paint box that I made, it's all made out of this foam board. I got a huge sheet. It was 6 feet. No. It was 4 feet by 3 feet of foam board for $6, which is cheap. I chopped it up, did this. I did other stuff with it too. But I gotta say that what you do is you cut them up into little strips like this, or even you can cut them into strips too. Hot glue gun, glue, whatever type of glue you have. Get some automotive sandpaper. And the reason I say automotive sandpaper is because they have a buffing compound sandpaper that works amazing. Now me blindly going through my drawer underneath this table. But they have this. 3M makes this 2000 grit buffer paper, right? This is for cars. This is for, getting that nice finish on a car. And we're talking about a nice finish on paint, plastic, whatever. That's what most cars are made out of now. Might not be made out of ABS plastic, but most cars are made of plastic now. And since, they're making out of this is great. The great thing about this, it's a wet dry sandpaper. So it says 2000 grit for what it is right now. But if you add water to your mixture of your sandpaper, while you're doing this, you're going to also add, it's going to be like 3000 grit, might be even 5000 according to this. I don't know. But you take this, you take your little piece, you glue it onto there, and then you basically come up with, a little stick, yourself, where you can shape it and design it and get into those nooks and crannies that you're looking for. Now you might be saying, oh, Joe, what's going on? What's going on with this piece right here? This kit, you might have not, a lot of people might not notice it, but the plastic is textured. It's got like a bumpy finish to it, and I don't want to make it smooth. So it might be looking a little rough as far as, this gap here and stuff like that. I'm going to use my Tamiya putty and try to fill that in and then repaint it. A nice little trick that I learned about sprays is that you can spray it get yourself a little empty jar and spray it in there. And do it in a well-ventilated area, spray it in there, and now you can do touch-ups. Now, you can see where I did some touch-ups here, but I try to do it in areas where I'm going to be putting a lot of decals, a lot of stickers, so that way that open base of where I'm putting stuff has a nice kind of finish to it. But yeah, you can tell right here. I had to do some touch-ups with it, and it looks a little milky, but that's that pearl, that pearl intent that's going on. Oh, and then make sure when you use the spray, you don't seal your cap all the way, because what you're going to do is if you seal it all the way, you're going to cause pressure, and then every time you open it, it might, pop. So, but let's get started. Using this 100 grit right here. I try to keep it on the stand as much as possible, but sometimes you can't. But let me get some gloves so I'm not contaminating everything. Now these gloves I got are heavy duty. You don't need this heavy duty of gloves. I gotta say, I have to give a lot of props to Old School Gunpla on Instagram, New Type Tim on Instagram, different reasons. I'm, giving these shout outs to everybody. Boss Julie out in wherever she is, gotta love her cat. But yeah, no, everyone's got their own little special talents. New Type Tim, he does very good putting together models and stuff like that. I don't see him doing a lot of custom work, but that's okay. George with Old School Gunpla, he's more of a custom guy, and he's great. You can learn from anybody, learn from anything from anybody, and that's what I like about this community. I don't think we should be trying to disparage or like, oh, that looks like crap, and everything like that. It's like, oh yeah, I would be like, oh, I would do this a little bit differently. I would go about it a little bit different. I would do this, I would do that, kind of thing. I wouldn't be ever discouraging to another Gunpla creator. It's not who we are. It shouldn't be who we are, and we should just be, growing as a community of Gunpla builders, and that's one of the reasons why I have never entered the what is it, the GWC or whatever, the Gundam competition into Japan. I mean, I would love to win in America and go to Japan and do that, but when you get over there, you're with a whole different rule set. You're with a group of people that, I've heard a lot of things about it, and, negative and positive. But I'm not one of those people to try to do competitions that much. I mean, I'm with a local group, Gunpla Builders of Michigan, and we do have our competition once a year, which I like hanging out with them, talking with them, posting on their channel. I don't even post that much. Oh no, my coffee. But you can see that this gets really dusty a lot, really fast, doing it this. But it also keeps it a little controlled. You can always use a little bit of water. Use a little bit of water. Control the dust. I usually use Q-tips that can try to control the dust. It's really good because you can kind of like pick it up and be like, oh, okay, yeah, and see that. But what you want to do is when you're getting these lines down, these I don't want to say panel lines because that's what you do with your details and stuff like that, but more or less these made lines and stuff like that, like trying to fuse the part together to make it look flush, and it wasn't like two pieces that I put together here. You use this to get it mostly down. So you take your nail, and if you don't feel that jump between the parts, then you're almost there, and that's where you should switch off your paper. Or if you notice that you're taking out details and stuff like that, try to switch it up a little bit, or don't even use sandpaper on it and stuff like that. Leave it as is, because You don't want to take away any detail from it and stuff like that. Usually a bad sign or something. That's how I feel. Give it a good. And I don't know about people washing their parts, stuff like that. I have never come across where my parts are like so bad or that I need to wash them. I did notice with my Kempfler model that the paint that I used and how I mixed it, it didn't really adhere well because of the mixture of paints I used. And that's just, trial and error, So you don't really have to wash your parts. I don't wash my parts. And my stuff comes out pretty good. I mean, I didn't wash him, and he came out pretty good. Little minor detail work, here and there, but I mean, he's my go-to guy. I didn't wash any of the characters I worked with, but they turned out fine. I mean, it's all up to you. I mean, if it feels fine to you, then yes, who cares? Who else cares? I mean, you're the one who cares, not anybody else. And if you're using this format to, try to get other people to like your stuff, I mean, and that's just, you're just following the crowd, and in that case, then you kind of want people to notice or like your stuff. But I do it because I love it. I love Gunpla. I've been doing it since I was 9 years old. I will never stop. Now I'm switching over to 600. And the reason you switch between such a low grit to a high grit and stuff like that is so that you're not wearing out your higher grit sandpaper. And the higher the number of the sandpaper, the better the finer the lines will be that you're making on the part. So you can tell already just by using this 600 grit right here that it's already looking like it's fused together. And see, now since this 600 is done, I can switch over to like 1000, or I can switch over to my 2000 grit sandpapers. Just because I see no visible line. I mean, I can see it still just from, me, because I mean, I'm sitting right here. I have a better view than you do. But yep. And then I gotta say, like, I really enjoy doing this stuff. I never thought about doing Gunpla for any other reason than myself at first, and then I was hearing about these competitions, and I was like, oh wow, I could get into those competitions and stuff like that. And back in my heyday when I started doing this, I was like, well, I can't get out to Japan, and my dad traveled around the world and stuff like that, and he would get me like some interesting, like, before the internet really took off, like YouTube and all that stuff. My dad got me the Gundam U charge counterattack, and there was a full metal action one where it had the die-cast metal parts in it for the legs. and for the hip. And the tragedy, what happened with that one was that the hip was only for the legs, okay, that metal part, the die cast, and the peg between the waist of it broke, and I was heartbroken by it because it has so much weight on the top of it. That's why they put those die cast parts in it in the first place, was to make sure it got weighted down, and so you weren't having that issue. But once that peg broke, I was 16, 15 to 16. I didn't know about Tamiya putty and all this other stuff. And my dad wasn't really big hobbyist into model making. I mean, he did it, for a while. He does do models still, but he's more of that military Tamiya, and he uses enamels, and he goes with testers, and it's like we're two sides of the same coin, basically, when it comes to model making. He likes his realism, I love my fantasy. But yeah, I'm actually thinking about getting into something else other than Gundam. It's still made by Bandai, but still, I mean, I was like Gundam is my go-to. Many people say Gundam Wing was their first, Gundam and stuff like that. It was mine too, but at the same time, when I was messing around with Gundam, it was, let's see, 93 is when I got my first Gundam. I was 9 years old, and it was Gundam Wing 0 grade. No grade, really. Or skill level 1, as you might say. But it wasn't English. There was no English on it. It was straight Japanese. It was a Japanese model. And then that's around the same time as 94 or 95, Gundam Wing came out. And I already had 6 or 7 of the models and stuff like that. And then, I would go to Gibraltar Trade Center and Taylor, and I would just be sitting there. My dad would buy me one, and I would just sit there. And I'd bring my own, little clippers, and just be sitting there and just just speed building this thing together. And my dad would be like, "Oh, take your time," and I'd be like, "Boom, done," And I remember getting F91 series 1/100 scale, and those were my favorite, I gotta say. Hardy Gun, and I always hated, even back then, I hated adding stickers to it because they weren't water decals. And the impressive thing with water decals is that you're not getting that edge normally that you see. It's a lot more faded than normal. And the water stickers that came with the Red Dolphin, they are thick. I have to use my scalpel and get underneath and peel it off because it's so thick. It's not a sticker. It's a water decal. You could say all you want about it, but I mean, it's like, wow. But yep, that's and I remember that day too. The first day I remember that day so well. Comic-Con was at a facility out in Dearborn, Michigan. We were sitting there. We were waiting for the longest time for William Shatner to show up. Did a Star Trek movie come out that year? Comment below if you know if a show came out that year for Star Trek. But William Shatner showed up right as we were leaving. I got to see him for about 2 seconds, and it was him leaving his limousine to get inside the building because we were driving away. Because he was just taking so long. And then my dad was just trying to keep me occupied. So he got me the model. I didn't build it there. I built it at home. But I was just hooked ever since then because it's like, oh wow, I want to do this. And so the next couple months, my dad actually went to Japan, and he picked me up 4 of them: Death Scythe, Heavy Arms. Who else did he pick up? Believe it or not, I didn't get Ulton. I think that's the one I did not pick up because I thought he was tacky with the one arm that extended out. I wanted something of a realism when it came to it, but I never saw Gundam up until I was 15, 16, and then my dad got me Charge Counterattack, and then that's when I really got into it, and I started getting Gundam X figures. I started getting. At one time I was like, oh, I need to get the 1/100 scale because there's more of them, and then Master Grade wasn't around, where Master Grade just came out, and it was like $80 for one of them, and I was like, God dang, I was like, I can't spend that kind of money, and it's like I'm a kid, So eventually it turned into that, oh, I'm going to stick with the 144th, and that's where pretty much I stuck. I like the 144th. There's more of them. There's more variety of them. You can pretty much get any of them. The one I want to see in 144th is the Nightingale. I would love to get the Nightingale 144th. I think they should Bandai should go back and redo all their Gundams in 1/44 scale and make them as like a series box. Because they already did. What is it for Gundam? The Gundam Wing, the Quattro's group. Can't remember those sand guys from Gundam Wing. I'm trying to remember their names, but they came out that box and it has like 5 or 6 of the same Gundam inside of it. They're just different styles or whatever. But I'm like, if you're coming out with that, then you might as well come out with like a and that's pretty much finished. I don't feel the gap between that, so that's got to be filled in with dust, and then when you spray it over, it'll solidify the dust on there. So just put that back on. Now it's ready for paint. Stick that right back in my holder. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff they could be doing to like solidify like all the Gundams they have made. Like he's an old school one. I didn't see a new school one of him. They're starting to come out with those 144 scale gold label, as I like to call them, HG Gundams. They have Gundam Wing, Sandrock. I've been hearing word around the water, and then they got the Leos. They got and then the real grade. It's like I want to get one just to try it out, but at the same time I don't see the appeal in real grades other than it's more of a challenge build. And it's not that much of a challenge when you know how to put these things together. It's just another mech, right? Another Gundam. This one I find is more of a challenge because of just it having to be glued together and painted, and like if you want it, like this is an alternate color for it, and I love it. I like, because I haven't seen anyone do the alternate color for this, and I've seen a bunch of people do the marine version of it. This is the marine version, but it's the let me see here. I got the box right here. This is from Gundam Z, and yeah, this is it's just Marine Zaku or whatever. This is like an alternate colored version that it's blue or whatever, but uh, I I like it. You know, I like doing alternate colors versions. I love how they have this all set up in here, where it's like, oh, we got alternate color versions. I'm like, yeah, cool, awesome. That's what I like. And then with this, I'm kind of being hesitant about it because I want to do a little bit of paint job on here. It's like I got a little copper here, and then I want to try to fill that in with some Tamiya putty, and then I did the back end here with the vents and stuff, but you can see that there's you can still see a little bit of blue, and then I forgot to add the piece right here, and then there's a fin that goes on the back here. I forgot to do that too, which that fin I saw hiding out on my table over here. Or is it back hanging up? Nope, it's still on my table somewhere. Oh no! Oh, here it is. Already pre-painted and everything. So, and yeah, I like using the tape better than the clips, because there's you're going to get that one spot that does not get painted from it being somewhere, and with the tape, I can kind of manipulate it. I can, it's nice and squishy, so that's being held in just by its sheer force of its little C joint right there, that I can just squeeze that onto the tape and it's not going to hurt it or affect it in any way, and I can get it all painted in one good swoop with the spray bottle. I do have an air compressor. I will be doing some of that. It's really loud, and I don't like using it that much. I think it needs to be oiled. I'm gonna take it to my stepdad. He knows about air compressors more than I do, so I'll take it over to him. But yeah, that's basically my tutorial on getting sandpaper, what kind of sandpaper to use, how to manipulate it, basically what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. I mean, really, it's all up to you. You're the artist, you're the maker, you're the one who's putting this together. So I would say have fun while you're doing it, because if you're not having fun, then what's the point? Don't make this don't ever try to make something a job for yourself. I love doing this. I love helping people. If I could do this all day and get paid for it, I would love it. And I would love it if you guys could contribute so that I can. That's a dream of mine, to be doing this. I want to open up a shop eventually, a model shop. That's all we do is, I sit there, I teach you how to build models. I give you my opinion about it. I just want to do that. I just find it so fun and fascinating. I mean, I see. What's her name? Tex on Instagram, and she does an amazing job. She's even a certified teacher with Bandai and stuff like that. Like I don't know if I'm saying that right, Tex. So forgive me, but she's a certified teacher with Bandai, and she does an awesome job. She's over at I think the Anime Comic-Con, Anime New York right now. Wish her all the best and stuff like that. But I would love to be doing that as well. My daughter, my son, they both make Gundams right now too. I mean, grant you, they took their Gundams into their rooms and they're not finished, but whatever, like, like kids these days, I don't think they understand the patience. It was like I thought it was really cool that I got to make my own toy back in the day. Nowadays they don't even care. They're on their tablets and stuff like that. And then my fiance and I, she loves books, and so I was like, that'd be cool to have a model bookshop, where I'm doing the models and she's doing the books and stuff like that. And I mean, I want to learn more as much as possible and stuff like that. Oh, and I posted this on my Instagram. I don't know if anyone knows this or anything like that, but this postcard was in the 20th anniversary box that I got. And I thought it was just the coolest thing I ever, you know. And then one of the guys that I bought from, well, I got you guys on here, I think I bought the Zaku, the guy I bought the Zaku from, he sent me this inside the little paper crane, inside of inside the box, stuff like that. I thought it was super cool, you know. That, oh no, it wasn't from the Haizaku. It was from the mini Gundams that I got. These guys, but he sent that over, and you know, I paid $15 for 5 of them. Yeah, 5 of them. $15. It was like $8 shipping, but you know, that's a steal, you know. But this does it for, you know, sanding and other stuff, you know, and like how I go about it is like, you know, and let me review it, let me go over it again and stuff like that. I basically assemble the part how it is, you know, major glue lines on here. Then I use the primer and I spray primer down on it. Now, the reason I put the first load of primer down is because I want to see how much, when I sand it, how much of an area is being lifted, raised, or anything of that nature. Because that's going to be important later on. So when I go and sand it, I can see that little, you know, that high raise or whatever, and then you can tell, like, see, it's chipped right here on that arm, at the edge of the arm right here. Okay, let me see if I can move the light a little bit for you so it's not so bright. It's like shining real bright on it, and then so it gets, you know, you have a little chip there, and so you can see all the minor imperfections that might be in the plastic with, you know, putting down the primer and then sanding it down. So that's why I do that, and then I can re-put the primer back down on it, which is, you know, it's just a little extra step I have to do, but I enjoy it. It makes it a little bit more perfect, in my opinion. And then I go ahead and re-primer it, and then I give it a final coat with my well, not a final coat. I give it a spray coat with the color I desire, and then I put my stickers on it, my, you know, decals, and then after I get all my decals on, and I'll be staring at it for a while and doing that stuff. But when I'm ready to shelf it, when I'm ready to put it on the stand, that's when I'll put a clear coat on it, so that I make sure that these stickers are not going to come up later on, or, you know, if they get wet or anything like that, they're not going to peel off or anything like that. Kind of like a protective coating on it and stuff like that. And then, you know, you can get a matte clear coat, crystal clear coat, you know, what's another clear coat, glossy clear coat, and then sometimes you can even get you will use titanium silver. Where is it? So many grays I have. This is it. No, that's not it. Is this it? No, that's... Okay. Yeah, titanium silver, X32. So this goes on clear. It might not look like it goes on clear, but it goes on fairly clear, and then gives you like a little sparkle, a little shimmer, stuff like that. That I would use anytime I use these. I would make sure that, you know, everything else is kind of put down first, and then give it a nice coat. It's going to make it a little darker too, the tones of your colors. But let's save that for painting and stuff like that, and I can do a full tutorial on that for you guys. All right, you guys have a good one. I love making Gundams. I will see you guys on the next kit. All right, peace.